I forgot to take a note from the previous video. Oh, 1 second. Vid references are personal references and how they shape our world. Great. Now, how are we? We're good? Yeah, new video. Always check for what's going on. I did 3 videos earlier and I plan on doing 2 more. So it's a similar vibe. Remember, it's entertainment. Yay. And look forward because this month, when I finish my actual website, I'm going to be shaving everything. The reason for the beard is not because I want to be a sage or something. It's because I use it to remind me that I have stuff that I need, that there is stuff that needs to be done. But playing with scenarios in my head before sleep. I should have targeted this as motivation, in all honesty. Uh, a big part of how I am consistent, I would say, I should say that, is that I actually create certain scenarios in my head and certain, naturally, futuristic scenarios. So, especially before sleep, there is a certain kind of like when I'm not really looking at a screen before I fall asleep, my mind does stuff, and most of the time I kind of like engage with them. Like, what are we doing? Where are we thinking of? Where are we going? Not here. Okay, go for it. That's fine. I'll handle it today. Because whatever you push to the side, by the way, comes back to your dream. It's your unconscious kind of like flooding something out. It's like, oh, you're observing right now. Do you like this? We don't. Fuck it. All right. Do you like this? Yes, I'll keep it. I'll bring it back. And so I engage with them in a more playful manner. I completely believe that we are a creators of our own reality. And I don't necessarily believe I think our reality is in our head. And what we call the real world is not reality. It's La La Land. It's a land where everyone's kind of like imagining themselves doing stuff. The sages, the Sufis, the Buddhists, the even Christians and Muslims, man. Anyone who's a mystic who went beyond, anyone who's a mystic who went beyond, always reflects on the fact that most of our life we're asleep, and then we kind of like are awake. And when we're awake, we get to choose to be awakened. And that's, I think, where we go to nirvana. Or just kind of like enjoy life the way it is and completely float through it. There's a certain beauty of its existence, and there's the certain beauty of like our engagement with it. So the way our mind works, it only makes sense for us to kind of like be more creative when it comes to what we do, whether we're asleep or not. Like, I don't know. I don't really believe that I'm awake, because I still am very much connected to what the real world is, but I'm connected in a very kind of like detached way, right? Because I'm individually doing my own things and not really surrounding myself by the things that truly like, I don't want to say ground you in reality and La La Land and the real world, because like on your own you're grounded to the real world. Around people you're locked into society, imprisoned by society. There's just too many words, too many sounds, too many voices entering your head, right? So you kind of have to be on top of your own game. But the reason why I'm looking at reality this way is because like if my mind's gonna pop a thought, then at the very least I have to kind of consider it. And not consider it as in would I do it or not. Most of the thoughts are not really useless, are just like they found their way in one way or another. And it could be like not the best of thoughts, it could be a joke, it could be just some random people on the side of the road doing something that you didn't really like. Things throughout the day stick with you, right? And at night when I'm processing them, sometimes I go on tangents with them, same way I do with my videos. I poor guys, man. I imagine like there are like two people or five people that are kind of like actually viewing more consistently my videos, and I can only imagine how random sometimes the videos can be. But I am sorry. I love you guys. You're awesome. Uh, but what do I mean by playing with scenarios in my head? So if something needs to be done, or like I actually do it, what would be the next step? Like I wake up today and I go like, okay, so like my plan right now is to have this thing done. And 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, it doesn't fucking matter. As long as it's in the process of being done, then we're cool. The goal is for it to be done. And anytime it's done, it creates like a vacancy in my head because there's a whole like the energy designated to that space of time to for certain things to kind of like exist and happen. Now kind of goes, what do I do next? And naturally, I want to build on top of what I built, what I did. I want to build on top of where I've actually arrived. I want to build on top of my efforts, and I want to be consistent. If not build on top of my effort, refine my efforts. To kind of like revisit some things. Like there's always some stuff that you could always engage with and like target and all these kind of cute stuff. So from my perspective, what happens is well, I want to say get creative. I want to say get imaginative. But I said earlier, get on tangents. And the tangents, what they do is because, like, let's say I'm coding a page for the website, and a big part of my exercises at night, or just like the randomness of my head at night, or maybe the trained randomness of my head at night, because I've been actually actively working with my thoughts, which maybe allows them to be a lot more guided towards the things that I'm engaging with them with, is a kind of future outlook. But how are you going to kind of like discern whether what you're working with right now, what are you going to do next, does not make the decision. Your mind does the decision. You kind of have the intention behind what needs to be done, and your mind always picks the best way to do it. Given your values, your morals, your principles, it always picks the best way to do it. You just have to let it do it. But more, it's like, if I were to explain to somebody why I'm making this decision, how would my explanation be? And then my mind would take me into an imaginative state where I'm just kind of like sitting around people and telling them my thought process. Or if I were to kind of give a speech about what I did right now, or if I were to kind of like write something as a report for somebody based on what I'm doing right now. And then I do the same with these videos and notes, and I consider the things I read about, and like I consider different situations, and just like a play on imagination. I think one of the best points of reference to use is a samurai's approach, and it's more reflected towards like a battle is won and lost before it even starts, because your actual mindset and your approach to something is always predetermined. And okay, so think about it this way: when I noticed it. So every conversation I ever had with anyone, and I made videos about this. Yes, every conversation I ever had with anyone is a conversation I've had before, right? So it's either a conversation I had with somebody where I realized I don't like it, or it's a conversation I had with myself. And I realized that because sometimes I'm writing about stuff, and the things that I write about are the things that become the topic of conversation that I initiate for whatever, until I write something else, or until X amount of people pass through my days and I hear it enough times for me to go like, I don't like this, I like this, and I change my way of thinking or my engagement. I was literally like a give and take. So if that's the case, then everything you do could also be something that you've already done before. That makes sense. That's why we always repeat ourselves. And that's why we always engage with something similarly to how we engaged with before. But then when Einstein says like he has achieved all he has achieved through the power of imagination, because like an atom still can't be described right now, right? Like because everyone has their own view of reality, and not everyone could understand math. You have to create the concept of math in your head and how math is visualized in your head in order for you to be able to like understand and build and all that kind of stuff. So the idea becomes, Are we able to create a scenario in our head that translates into something into the future? Whether it's an image of ourselves doing something, or whether it's something getting done, or whether it's an accomplishment, or an engagement, or a conversation. You don't think the thoughts in our head that translate into our words and our character have the same ability to translate into our reality? And you don't think our engagement with ourselves and our imagination are like the ways we could actually create reality? And that way, the next day, man, will happen exactly how you see it happening. Maybe that's really what karma is about. Or at the very least, like when people discuss planting a seed, what exactly are they doing? Because your thoughts manifest into the behaviors, and then the behaviors manifest into the actions, and the actions basically manifest in the return, and the result then result into the reality. What you're doing basically is eliminating all the things that you wouldn't want to like by engaging with the process beforehand, so that when the time comes for true engagement, you're already like 90% of the way. It's a video playing with scenarios in my head before sleep. I think everyone should try it, but don't be judgmental, man. Sometimes there's stuff that you can't even understand, but you have to accept that you have a say and make the right choice, basically. No judgment. It's a video.